For a while now, I've been playing on a whitelist-only Vtuber Minecraft server. I played like normal for a few months, even making a few builds and nice things. The whole time I was on this server, I've been cheating. On top of that, I've broken just about every rule they have. This server is also a vanilla paper server with no plugins, a griefer's paradise. The concept of this grief came from Team AVO, or Team Evolution. They were a griefing group in the very early days of Minecraft that would raid servers and grief them in spectacular fashion. One of my favorite grief styles they did was use a nuker module only on torches. At first it seems like a waste of cheats, but the best part is that it's subtle. It tends to drive players mad with suspicion and paranoia. Nobody is around when the lights go out, and nobody can figure out who did it. This story highlights some of the strangest things about VTuber fans, Minecraft players, human psychology, and the absolute need to grief. The story gets pretty crazy at some points, but this is truly what happened on the Kemono Stadium Minecraft server. I'll start from the beginning. I got an invite to play on the KemoV Minecraft event called Kemono Stadium, or Kemosta, as the Japanese players call it. I played quite calmly for the first little while, except in the test stream where I killed a player, however nobody noticed that. When the server opened, I set up a very basic home to get god gear, then went on to make my first builds. I found an empty spot, made a flat plane, and began making map art. The map art was a QR code that leads to one of my Kemono friends' fanfictions. I intended it to be a nice fun way to interact with the game, but the players and server admin, known as Parkstaff-san, saw it as me violating the no advertising rule. Some players destroyed the map art itself by setting it on fire, which left me with little left over for a new map. I was annoyed, but I soon found a new image to make a map of. I like the art from an artist known as SRD because it's so simple and colorful, perfect for a map art. I found an image of theirs that I like and decided to make it a map art. I popped it into Map Art Craft, made a schematic, and soon enough had a fresh map art of Topi. After it was complete, I gave the map to one of the VTubers on stream, and everyone had a chance to take a look at it. I thought this map would be a nice thing to share, but apparently I angered the players and park staff again. Apparently, me using SRD's art without his permission threatened the existence of the Kemono Stadium server legally or something. It's Japanese law and I'm American. They told me to remove the maps I placed around the server. Then, guess what? The map burned again. Mark 2 for griefed maps. After this, I decided to take a back seat in terms of builds, and stuck to simply grinding out gear and getting further in the game. The server grew in builds and scale over the next few months, however the player count steadily fell. The server started with 110 players, and at its lowest had 2 or 3 on at peak hours. Big builds stopped happening so much, and there wasn't really a point in playing anymore since everything had been done and automated already. When the streamers did log in, they just took a tour of the server without really playing the game at all. At this time, I discovered that a very active player, Balloon P, was using an X-ray texture pack. He and I made an agreement to keep this knowledge secret from the other players. He initially thought I was using just a texture pack at first, but I happened to be using a little bit more than that. I decided to come and build during this inactive time, notably making a big stadium. Since the server is called Kemono Stadium, Kemosta, I thought it fitting to build a stadium. Well, apparently the land I used for my stadium was reserved for a different stadium to be built with the VTubers. However, it wasn't marked at all. Apparently, I was just supposed to figure out that the giant empty field full of torches that sat there for weeks was a future build project. Anyway, the players weren't pleased that I used up their giant empty plot of land, despite the reason why they set it aside not even being requested by the VTubers at all, or even being alluded to in the first place. My first act of griefing was fairly innocuous. I chose a chunk, free-cammed and ESP'd down and around, and killed all the entities within it. It made the players think that the server was bugging out and somehow getting corrupted, which made them paranoid that the whole server would be destroyed at any minute. At the same time, numerous foxes began appearing all in a single area, which made the players joke that the deleted entities were being turned into foxes. Not too much happened from the entity deletion strategy aside from mild anxiety. I then went on to do other things for a while, mostly programming and writing, and the server hit its all-time lowest in terms of player count. Some days, the server would only get one player online, and there were nearly 0 streams from the VTubers for about a month. When I remembered that this server exists, I logged back in and started playing again. I stayed fairly low profile for a while, but then got the inspiration to grief. I started punching out torches and signs in public areas so mobs would spawn. I did it randomly and, to be honest, badly at first, but the players soon began to notice. I then realized what I was doing was oddly similar to Team AVO's lights out strategy. They would leave the torches floating after they hit them out, but I picked them all up after I was done. I was much more thorough about nuking them, so they wouldn't be able to place them so easily again. I continued to nuke torches for a while without drawing too much suspicion. Most players thought it was an accident or just a mob breaking them, and gave the idea of a griefer the benefit of the doubt. The only events that caused a commotion were the torches being hit out near spawn and at one of the Vtubers' houses. I kicked up the scale of the griefing when I knocked out an entire town's torches. Everything inside and outside had its torches removed, and some surrounding hills and monuments went dark too. It took a while, but several builds were totally lightless after the grief. I don't have any video of it, but what was normally a bright village turned into not that. It took a while for the players to notice, but when they did, they grew quite suspicious. With more small torch nukings and animal obliteratings, the players grew even more annoyed. At this point, one player named Zedeller or Geneva Mech quietly began using a world downloader mod to keep track of players on the server. The only problem was that they are quite stupid. The world downloader only keeps track of players in render distance and highlights block updates in entire chunk. Use of a world downloader is also against the rules of the server, which he admitted to and knew before using it. He also got others to use a world downloader, including Vostok061. I found out about him using the world downloader through a friend of mine, who relayed the information back to me. I sat on the info for a while, waiting for it to become relevant. The griefing got bigger and more regular, spreading my work out to caves and also nuking beds when I came across them. Basically, any beds that could have spawns set to them got nuked. The players hated this, and just about every active player went full Among Us mode. It was at this time that Vostok061 posted a screenshot of missing beds around the server. The problem is, the screenshot they posted had information they could not have gotten in vanilla. When I asked about how they got the screenshot, Geneva Mech stuck his head out and proudly admitted that he was using the world downloader. I called him out for cheating, and then he tried to deflect and say I was doing impossible things. He even said he had video proof of me cheating, but he never posted it. I then posted the conversation he had with others about using the world downloader that I got earlier. Nothing really came of that except an empty thread about reporting me to Discord. I then went on to report Geneva Mech and Vostok061 to the server admin, who still hasn't been seen yet. Nonetheless, the griefing shall continue. Geneva Mech, who I will just call Gene from now on, has been acting like an investigator vigilante, taking scans of the overworld to try to find the griefs. Currently, they're trying to see who's online when griefs occur by staying on 24/7, but the problem with that is that I just happen to be cheating and moving quickly is easy. I would just like to remind you that the reason why they're using the world downloader and staying online and making graphs and having huge discussions and spending hours each day flying around a server is because torches and beds are being removed. That's it. There is nothing else to this. I try to leave builds intact, with some exceptions. Don't use fire, explosives, or anything at all to destroy a build. Now we come to the present. I've been logging in for shorter times throughout the day to keep my cover, as it's highly improbable that someone could have done several extensive griefs across the server within the span of about 15 minutes. Each time I log in, it's usually just to AFK and get some playtime, or fly around really quick and hit out some torches. I hit some pretty big builds during this time. These ones took the longest because they were so big. I hit the big boat racetrack, which took a while because of how many little crevices it had. I did a little griefing in vanilla, just to see if I like it. I attended their event for 20,000 server days passing. Hit out some smaller stuff in incomplete builds. A giant build dedicated to the Jeffrey's Cat VTuber. This one by far took the longest, since every single room seemed to have hundreds of torches. I built a lag machine that can drop the TPS from 20 to 5. I caught wind that they were going to start using frog lights and lanterns to replace torches, so I took some time to incinerate the supplies they had stocked in the public warehouses. Oh, would you look at that? It's a junior investigator flying overhead. You just missed me, bud. I hit out this big lodge thing near the public end portal. All that light coming off it was bothering me for a while, and I decided to fix that with a little torch nuker action. I even got done with it in record time. 6 minutes for a nuke, not bad. Off camera, I had a pleasant interaction with Balloon P. I was busy nuking out a field of glow lichens, and he flew over and saw me in complete darkness. This immediately set off the panic alarms in both of us, and I flew away to grab some torches so I wouldn't look like I was griefing it. I returned a little while later with torches in hand and began to relight the area. Balloon P started questioning why I was there and why the field was dark in the first place, to which I made up an explanation. After this, he asked me to record my play sessions, to which I kindly declined. I think it's quite funny that they expect the individual players to record everything they do on the server. These people really don't have much better to do. An hour later, I got this message from our pal Balloon P. Oh boy, that's a lot to read. At first, when I saw this absolute text wall appear in my DMs, I laughed. Who would take a Minecraft server so seriously that when they hear that someone doesn't care about the server as much as they do, they write a big message about how you should care more and how you are going to lead to the demise of the server? Who would do all that over a Minecraft server? Well, a lot of people would do that. I used to play on Anarchy servers, and this kind of behavior is much, much more common than you think. I think people act like this because they want control over something. They obsess over this game and want to become the number one in everything. They want control over their little world, to have something they can take care of and manage as they please. They struggle for this control, and when they can't have it, they start to freak out. They can't tolerate having someone who doesn't care as much as they do. They take it like a personal attack, almost like insulting the amount they care about the game. They became so enveloped in this server, this game, that they forget that it's just a game. They make it an extension of themselves. I'm glad I could say all of that. Anyway, I went on to nuke out an incomplete building for the only English-speaking VTuber, Coyote, who has problems playing Minecraft and other first-person games due to her motion sickness. I really do feel bad for her, since a lot of the games she plays that aren't Tekken give her motion sickness. This build has sat here completely untouched and incomplete for a long time. It's no big loss. Hey, free beacon. I did a little bit more griefing, and who else but Chief Investigator Zadeller shows up to do his little world download. That spooked me a little, so I flew off to go grief this Okapi thing. Once that was sufficiently dark, I came back to pick up the last of the torches. A few minutes later, I went to go kill some cats, and I managed to kill the only cat of an online player. No idea how I flubbed that one, so I decided to self-report so TNB38K wouldn't get suspicious of a death message from me popping up in chat. This self-report on the Discord led to a massive shitstorm of people who didn't even log in, calling me a joke and accusing me of being the griefer. Now, do I deserve this? Yes, I absolutely do. But at that time, they instantly jumped down my throat. One of them accused me of cheating, too. Except they don't understand how cheats work at all. Then they went on to discuss if I truly was the griefer and if I had a vendetta against other players, but they seemed to forget it later on. What? 2 griefers? They think there's 2 now? The other griefer was someone who burned down the Christmas tree in the center of their Christmas exhibit before a streamer logged in. I wasn't even online when that happened, so that's where their suspicion came from. I still think that it was an accident, but they are dead set on there being 2 griefers. I mean, yeah, that's the point. I am a problem child. That's me. Oh, Balloon P. I know you want to have control in the events of the server. I know you want to be the most respected, but this has nothing to do with you. I guess I was right about the most addicted players wishing for control. 2 days passed, and my griefing took a break. I just got busy and had other things to do, so no gameplay for me. But then, a new stream on the server. But this one was different. One of the streamers caught wind that the server was being griefed, and in their words, blown up, and they were going to play on the server to investigate. The reports to the park staff admin actually went somewhere. Instead of banning anyone, they made it a stream topic. Now we have a new player in this grand game of Among Us. In anticipation for the new stream, the players made a new channel in the Discord to discuss what they would do if the griefer were to log in and make an appearance while the streamer was live. They made some really weird decisions about moderating how they should speak. They said that everyone should not say that someone has griefed something, only say that it happened. Don't publicly report anything bad happening outside the server. Only publicly talk about good things. If something were to happen, just say it was a creeper. Then they went on to contemplate self-griefing their own builds. I can't make this up. They truly considered hitting out their own torches and lanterns to make the griefing into a story. They're making up a whole entire story so they can feel like the heroes against the bad guy. That's me. And they can get the attention they want from their favorite VTubers. They turned my griefing into a story for the stream, which I find hilarious. They're gonna do my own job for me. Then they turned the channel into a fetish discussion channel. I cannot make this up either. They seriously tried to cover up their scheming with them discussing their fetishes. These people are weird, man. So, the morning of the investigation stream. I log in, hit out some torches, fly to the anti-gameplay EMP, and wait for the stream to begin. Oh, looks like the streamer's having some issues with their camera. 15 minutes later, the streamer logs in and the lag begins. The TPS goes from 10 to 3 just with the flick of a lever. The players notice right away and start to notice what's happening. The stream starts to become more difficult to keep going. They even had to stop to see what they could do to salvage the stream. I kept on flicking this lever for about 40 minutes until my laptop crashed. No worries, just log back in and start it up again. I was out for a little over a minute waiting for my computer to come back up. Once back online, I started pulsing the lag to make it seem like someone had just gotten stuck in a laggy spot. It made the server a little more playable while it was off, but still totally unwatchable the whole time. The streamer had to play around the lag, even changing the direction of the stream from going around the server to find clues to just staying in one little area. The stream was really boring because of the lag. Players were saying that they couldn't use their elytras due to the lag, and of course they couldn't move anywhere quickly. So they made a stream about trying to find the griefer, and the griefer griefed that stream. Very cool. Before, during, and after the stream, they got on the stream prep / fetish chat to talk about the lag. One of them noticed that the lag stopped when I logged out, but they went on to blame the lag on TNT of all things. Number 1 imposter defeater Gene hit the nail on the head about a lag machine being the source, but he never followed up on his suspicion. They found the griefs I did shortly before the stream as well. These ones were really lazy because I just ran around with Nuker on and didn't pick up the torches. I actually did the stream a favor with those griefs, since the whole purpose is about investigating the recent griefs. The players didn't make that connection though, and repaired the damage. About an hour after the stream, they deleted the fetish and stream prep channel. There wasn't really a reason to do that, but the second head honcho, Hero061, thought it would be a good idea. The conversation about the lag and the lagger then went to the main chat channel. They started by discussing the presence of the lag and where it could have come from. They didn't have a solid answer at first until Ami Cincy declared that they had figured it out. They asked for others to DM them to get the evidence they had, but later they posted it for everyone to see. It was a video of me logging out, the lag stopping, me logging back in, and the lag resuming. That's some pretty conclusive evidence, right? Well, apparently not. The players took this evidence and ignored it. They said that it wasn't conclusive enough, and more evidence would have to be found. Are you kidding me? That's exactly what happened. They had their crosshairs right on me and ignored it. I think they discredited it because of Ami's initial presentation. Only offering it through DMs first may have undermined its credibility to them. After discussing that the video alone wasn't enough evidence to truly say who it was, they started discussing how sad it was that the griefer is now directly impacting streams and making the whole Kemono Stadium, Chemostop, event look bad. To be honest, I sort of agree with them. The lag isn't fun for me, and outsiders trying to watch a stream where they can't even do anything due to unplayable conditions is really crap. I don't think I'm going to use this again for a while. The players entered into an existential discussion. Their chat was long and didn't really get anywhere. In summary, their conversation went from identifying the lagger/griefer, to this event possibly ending the server, to the public opinion of Kemono friends being ruined by these events, to the possibility of banning the griefer, to them finally realizing that they can't actually ban the griefer even if they found who it was. Each of the players were distinctly on one of the stages of grief. Hero and Balloon P are in denial, Secret Gashbell is in full anger, Noja and OKP are bargaining, Vostok and Jean took depression, and Light V, Nanase, E-Server have accepted the grief. Then, a final realization. They need me. Yeah, they need the griefer now. They finally came to the realization that they need the griefer for the story to continue. They need the torches to go out so they can have something to investigate at all. The torch replacers would stop replacing any hid-out areas for the time being. They've given up temporarily. However, the torch replacers immediately restarted their work. It must be muscle memory for them. The only interesting events were that I died to a TNT minecart trap in a stupid way. I broke a nether portal because I was bored, and then a huge discussion occurred, and they talked about my name and what Unity meant for some reason. Also, I noticed that players were walking around the server with invisibility potions. Unfortunately for them, I can see them perfectly. I chased one of them around for fun and killed one of them with lava while I was in the nether. This annoyed many players, but whatever, nothing new there. This period of time can best be summed up with the word cope. There was a lot of coping going around, the players realizing that there isn't much they can do about me and complaining about it. I'd like to take this time to talk about the players. The active players have been spending days worth of time camping out spots, waiting for a griefer to show up. I mean it, days at a time. Their obsession over me is self-destructive now. I've caused them to sacrifice so much of their time to staring at empty plots of land, running around while invisible, reporting every single little change to be recorded on a spreadsheet, using screen recorders 24/7, and not logging out for days or even weeks at a time. This truly is self-destructive obsession. They are ruining their own time on and off the server to catch the bad guy, who they can't even do anything against. This is video game obsession at its absolute worst. Imagine this being the highlight of your day. Imagine this being your hobby. No, they aren't AFK. This is active, online, at keyboard gameplay. And what am I doing? I'm not AFK either. I'm writing this script. At least I get something out of this server. I actually stopped griefing during this time. No. I kept up the pressure and kept on hitting out torches. I even started griefing in the nether since one of them said something about the nether being the safest area in terms of griefing. By now, they've agreed that I am definitely one of the griefers and are just doing what they can to resist the griefs. They even made up this enormous report to Park Staff San, who still has not been seen. Hey, this is kind of like a greatest hits album of mine. Thanks for the fanfiction, guys. Their accusations increased dramatically, all of them collectively remembering the cheat call-out from a few weeks ago. They still don't understand how cheats work, and even cited an out-of-date wiki page that is so massively incorrect it's hilarious. For an example of how little they know, they thought that Kill Aura attacks all entities within range, no matter what, and got confused why armor stands weren't hit. The article they posted lists Fast Throw as a destructive hack, and building in the nether as grief protection. They really believe all of this. Anyway, a few days elapse and OKP and Vostok start aggressively following me around. They aren't even invisible most of the time. They just run around with me and wait for me to do something crazy. When I log in, it seems like they drop whatever they're doing, which is nothing, and come and look for me. It doesn't matter if it's early morning or super late at night. They are always online. If I stay still for long enough, Vostok goes in and out of my render distance to mess with me using his world downloader to track me. I got tired of them following me around all the time, so I tried killing one of them. Well, the way I tried to kill OKP didn't work, and I knew it wouldn't because I tested it, so I really just did it to just see an explosion and have some fun. Foreign concept to them. Vostok picked up on how I broke the obsidian in a really weird way, but again they blamed the breaking speed on lag. Once again, perfect proof ignored. The players desperately wanted me banned still and continued praying for park staff to come save them. They even wondered if the second recruitment wouldn't happen at all due to these events. Mind you, there have never been any references to a second recruitment at all. Some of them finally googled my name and found my GitHub, and then found my affiliation to Seppuku client. Seppuku is a 1.12.2 client that I made a contribution to once for module descriptions. They took this info as me being a full-on cheat dev. I can imagine they also found my Sandstar ping bypass projects as well, which is also Minecraft cheat related. Ooh, a new person in the relay server. Hey, they have a Thomas the Tank profile picture. Balloon P is a Thomas fan. Oh wait, that's his alt! I should mention that from very early on in Kemono Stadium's life, I've been relaying messages into a secondary server so that others can see what's going on in there. I keep this server public. He must have sent his not so well obfuscated alt in here. I locked down the Minecraft relay channel so Mr. Espionage couldn't see them, and carried on. Not a lot happened through Christmas and New Year's. No streamers even logged in. Even the active players who AFK'd all day were gone. The only things worth noting from the players was that I chased them around while they were invisible, and they forgot that Topia was an official KF character. For griefs, I completely nuked out an entire town for a Vtuber, knocked out the beginner's village, and generally carried on breaking light blocks wherever I wanted. A stream was announced the day before it happened. With this news, I sprung into action and started breaking torches faster and harder than I ever had before. I thought that the stream was going to be about investigating griefs again, but it turned out it was just a normal stream. Either way, I knocked out a ton of torches 3 times before the stream began because the players kept repairing the damage. I finally broke torches at spawn, turning safe zones into monster areas, and turbo nuked out some other areas. Even while the stream was going on, I still hit out torches to at least make something fun for the players and viewers. The entire stream was her just being crowded by players and walking around the server. I don't have any video from my perspective because I was on a laptop. A really weird thing happened though. Balloon P and Secret Gashbell absolutely hounded me the entire stream. They didn't notice that I had no fall, no slow, no push, velocity, strafe speed, a hyperfast elytrafly, or any other cheats on somehow. So I don't bore you with any more details. The stream went well. Meteor's nuker no swing doesn't work. The players are obsessive, and park staff is still nowhere to be found. Right around now, I'm facing a total crash in enthusiasm. I leaked a world download on the 4chan's KFG thread so others could explore the world, and not much else happened. There were a lot more people on, but nothing seemed to be happening. The server's TPS is always at 10 or 15 though, which makes me wonder if the server is massively under-specced. I continued to grief, albeit slower because I was working on other projects. Fast forward a week or two and I am really tired of this server. I decided to grief a little harder, as in breaking people's supplies at their builds and directly destroying some players' builds. There are reasons for who gets what, but in general I've just been more direct with griefs now. The players are now full on, harder than ever before, in panic mode. They opened up a whole new channel in the Discord to discuss the griefs, and they are really scared of me now. They're terrified that my griefs will show up on stream or ruin the server. They've reported me multiple times in many ways, and yet park staff still has not logged in. They want to report me directly to the Vtubers now, but most of the Vtubers have their DMs off on Twitter, and even if they are open, they don't respond. A real no-win scenario there. More griefs. Of course, I did the classic torches, lanterns, frog lights, end rods, sea lanterns, and just about anything else that emits light. I also broke storage blocks and immolated their contents if I felt like it. A new grief idea I had was to intentionally start raids around the server. It was pretty effective in getting a reaction, but it didn't really do much in terms of damage. Also, a player made this map art. It's in a joking manner, but the players, of course, didn't like it. I was out breaking some chests and shulkers when Balloon P logs in. He finds me somewhat mid-act, and he lasers in on me. I start chasing him around and even auto-trap him. Later on, when he's still chasing me and I'm chasing him, he puts some lava on me. This barely does anything to me, but it's a direct attack. Okay, gloves off. I get out my items to start a counterattack. Dispenser, TNT, and levers. I chase him around the server, waiting for him to stop moving long enough so that I can pop him. Bingo! In the nether, in some lava. I place down the death contraption, and nothing. Okay, maybe next time. My PvP attempt made him completely freak out. He couldn't go half a second without strafing or moving or switching items. He was going nuts. If I put on my elytra, he flew away. If I stood still, he got out a spyglass and strafed left to right on a block. He was neurotic. He and others started following me around the server. I faked being AFK a few times to see what they would do. I had no push on, and they couldn't figure out why I wasn't movable. Eventually, they realized they could pull me little by little with fishing rods, so they used that to move me around. I found a way around that too by using Meteor Plus's freeze module. Side note, thanks a lot for not having bobbers on no push, Meteor devs. I manually toggled these modules to make my movement inconsistent while I was faking being lagged. They pulled me over top of this storage area at spawn and broke the floor to make me fall in. They pulled me down to the bottom floor and then... V-clip 100. On paper servers, for some reason, they allow players to teleport vertically through blocks. This vertical teleport distance is massive with Meteor Client, and I use that to disappear from them. This is what that looked like to them. I simply vanished. They had no idea what happened, unsure if I had used a chorus, teleported, or disconnected. A few minutes later, I used the freeze module again to make it look like I had started lagging out again. They took the bait and surrounded me in stone to trap me. They put lava on me to kill me while I was lagging. I, however, made a counterattack to their attempted PvP and dispensed TNT. It didn't damage any of them, but it did partially break a nearby house. These series of events sent the players ballistic. They made calls for help to the inactive players on their Twitter pages, organized mass reports to the server admin, and even considered calling on the Vtubers for help. While they waited for their flood of reports to be noticed by park staff San, they discussed the downfall of the server. They started to realize that the admin's neglect was the reason why the griefs were so bad, and almost turned on the Vtubers for the lack of coverage of the server. My griefs and actions somehow turned the players against the very people that they seek attention and validation from. They realize that the Vtubers don't care about them at all, and that park staff San is complicit, no, enabling all of this to happen. They turn on the ones they appreciate the most, rightly blaming them for all the problems they're having. I totally agree with them on this, but I've been saying it from the start. I just made them realize that Kemono Friends doesn't care about them at all. One day later, park staff San returned. The inundation of reports finally made them do something. They posted an announcement, then promptly logged off. They basically said just to be nice to each other and knock off the griefing. Yup, that's it. They didn't do anything. They didn't ban me, they didn't speak to me directly, they didn't restart the server. They didn't do anything aside from make an announcement. The players took this meaningless response as a massive win and practically celebrated the appearance of park staff. I was worried that I was going to be banned, so I made some statements in the grief channel. I told them very plainly that they need me in order for the server to be alive. They weren't receptive to that, so I told them that they're addicted to this game and they need to let it go. I told them about my time in Anarchy and how I got out of it, but still, they weren't receptive. A few hours later, the large spotted Janae VTuber did a Twitter space thing. I don't use Twitter, I don't know what this crap is, and announced a stream for the very next day. So they once again made this a stream topic instead of doing anything. The server organizer is so lazy and negligent that they just let me keep on cheating and griefing even when they know I'm ruining the server. They can't even be bothered to listen to their most devout fans who dump money into this company in order to get the opportunity to be free content for their already money-making business. The proposed stream from the Janae Vtubers changed from a stream on the Kemono Stadium server to the stream on their private Vtuber only server. The players didn't seem to mind, and neither did I. The stream prep I did was pretty minimal, and the players repaired some of it. Surprisingly, they didn't repair all of it, intentionally leaving some unfixed. The second griefer, who turned out to be real, started attacking after the stream was cancelled. It was likely a coincidence, but it may have been them wanting to grief the server while I was at the peak of the players' hatred. Their strategy was to trap doorways and redstone machinery with TNT. I didn't like this strategy as it was directly destroying players' builds, but I respected the griefing. The players took note of it in the grief channel, but it didn't really matter too much to them. I resumed my usual torch, bed, and storage nuking. It wasn't anything special, just the usual. I did this for a day or two and didn't think much of it. The second griefer kept working in the background with their TNT traps, and I took the blame for it somewhat silently. The same night, the server was closed. It came shortly after an announcement from park staff. I was asleep when it happened, but the second griefer took the server shutdown as an opportunity to bomb some major infrastructure. I'm not sure what all they hit, but this villager bookstore was a major staple to the players. They took this last-second bombing quite hard, even wanting to report me in-game to Mojang, and even wondering if Kemono friends would sue me over the griefs. Some insignificant things that happened at this time was that Balloon P logged on his alt to spy on me, the actual park staff person logged into the server on the Akamimi game account, and they talked about destroying all my builds when I got banned. So, server's dead. Breaking torches and beds got an entire server destroyed. That isn't what this is about, though. I did all of this for a reason. This is about video game addiction. Think about the players and what they were doing to themselves. This kind of game addiction isn't exclusive to weird VTuber fans, anime, or even Minecraft. This kind of obsession can happen to anyone. Take Austin Aganoski's video about how iRacing players are obsessive over sim racing, or how people play Osu or Geometry Dash for hours and hours on end. Hell, even speedrunning gets this obsession. I'm fairly sure that with every kind of game addiction like this, they aren't even playing the game to have fun. The game essentially becomes irrelevant and just a platform for whatever goal they have, usually respect, fame, or a chance at something bigger. I know what this is like because I was like this too. I used to be an Anarchy Minecraft player. When I played, my day would consist of logging in, playing the game, and hating every second of it. I played just so I could get respect from the community, so I could climb the ladder of notoriety. I just went through the game trying to get my name out there as far as I could. I spent every day online enveloped in this never-ending game of respect from a microscopic community of people on a game I hate. Now replace me with you or whoever else, and Minecraft with whatever game there is. If there's an obsession over gaining respect or progress, the activity itself is practically irrelevant. The focus is on the community or others, and there's no feeling coming from the activity itself. That's obsession. There are ways out of this obsessive loop, but the hardest part is realizing if you're in it. If you feel like you're climbing a never-ending ladder of respect, you find yourself altering your real-life desires or goals, your community or achievements are realistically minuscule, and you're not having fun doing something you enjoy, you're addicted. If any of these other examples resonate with you, please listen. I got out of this state by leaving the community and finding something else to do. You have to recognize that what you're doing is hurting you and eliminate it. You need to leave the race of respect behind because you're never, ever going to reach the top. If we take a look at our pal Balloon P in more depth, yeah, he's got some pre-existing issues. Just from what I know from things he's revealed about himself, he's Japanese, he's in his earlier mid-20s, he has autism, he's in a program for employment for those with disabilities, he's been unemployed for 2 years due to COVID, he's an avid KemoV fan, and he spends most of his time online. While he's on the game or interacting with the players, he desperately wants control over the actions on the server. He's obsessive over minor details to the point where minuscule changes get his utmost attention, and he played the server every single day. Even when he couldn't be on the game every day, he wished to play longer. He envied his previously fully unemployed self. Compared to the average game addict, he sounds very similar, if not a template for game addicts. I know this isn't everything in his life, but there's a lot more that happens that I can't even begin to comprehend. I can't fairly make an opinion on him from this, but he hits every sign of addiction. Another player I became interested in is OKP. He showed some similar signs, maybe not as badly, but he seems at least a little conscious of his situation. He didn't reveal much about his life outside the game, but just from how he acts, he's better off than Balloon P. But these two alone isn't enough. I need more data. I need to find out what the similarities between all of these people are. Fine, let's do some research. I drafted up some questions for our addicts and felt it was time to deploy them. I made up this call for participants in a sort of survey. Consider this a mask-off moment. I received a response blowing me off from one of the bigger addicts, Sword Mario, almost immediately. I expected that, so to keep the ball rolling, I made a short sub-response. Another piddly response. I made a third appeal to their emotions, and that butt face made a yo mama joke at me. OKP made an actual response to me, angry that I called him an addict. I tried to level with him, telling him directly that he and I aren't so different. I then dumped out some of my questionnaire, hoping that they would read it and evaluate it just for a moment. All I need to help them in the long run is to sow seeds of dissatisfaction with their actions. I probably hit a chord with Vostok, and he tried to deflect the conversation off of the topic. He tried to change to some stupid Kemono friends crap. I noticed that this was probably out of anger or discomfort. Also, this is somewhat related. If you think of something embarrassing, you'll probably groan or make some sort of motion to express it. Similar cope here. Then, an English-speaking player popped up. Rose Stars told me what they think of me and all this, which, yeah, that's totally reasonable. They haven't gone through any kind of addiction or turmoil like this before, and it shows. They think I can just reconcile with all of them, even after everything that happened. I laid bare all of my intentions and plans, and they still couldn't understand. I suppose this is a unique look at what it's like to be an outsider to game addiction. They just see it as a life choice. Yeah, so what if they decide to waste away on some stupid game? It's their choice. Yes, it is their choice, but as someone who went through this, I know how awful each day is, and how much better it can be for them. Am I imposing my beliefs onto them forcefully? Yes, but this is how I got better. I can't just idly sit by and see someone who I can understand just make themselves miserable over stupid Minecraft and Vtubers. There's more to life than this. Sword Mario popped back in to make some chirps and unintentionally revealed his addictive state as well. It might look like he's just trying to make a joke at my expense, but there's a nugget of truth in there. He really does believe that I'm foolish for attempting to convince others that their time on this server was addictive. Maybe he's right. Maybe they did just play as a passive hobby. I'm not 100% certain. But either way, that's a cope an addict would make. Trebled Fomp said that their roommate is a game addict, and they would send them to me. This is the first person who wanted to help my research. Balloon P butted into this conversation, seeing that I was getting positive attention. He told Trebled Fomp to ignore me and tried to explain how evil of a person I am, but Trebled Fomp, surprisingly enough, sided with me. Balloon P continued and tried to ration out that since he's in an employment program and travels, he can't be a game addict. That's just preposterous. He encouraged everyone else to block me if they hadn't already, citing that I'm the delusional one. They still don't like that I'm telling them about themselves and what's wrong, so they kept blowing me off. This time, Captain Savage took the reins. By now, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get any participation. Addiction is a strong thing, and it will blind you to realizing your faults. It's even harder in my position because I'm a bully and I'm already universally hated. You know what? I'm okay with that. If I can expose reactions, behaviors, and signs of game addiction, I'm satisfied. It's not my job to hold their hand through recovery. I'm not going to sit them down and fully go through everything I see wrong with them. I just needed to plant the seed of dissatisfaction in their mind. So, for everyone else, let's review some of the behaviors. I noticed that a few of them would deflect or block out the conversation by trying to shift the topic entirely. Vostok did it before, and Sword Mario's little chirps are the same thing too. I remember trying to do stuff like this, faking a conversation to someone else, or doing the equivalent of sticking your fingers in your ears. It's pathetic to do, but it's a fairly common thing. Just something to watch out for. Also, intentionally misunderstanding or ignoring an argument was something else I saw, taking their words and intentionally twisting them to be something else. Another thing is trying to conjure up a feeling of power or superiority over the opposition. Rose Stars tried to say that they were speaking on behalf of the entire English KF community, but nobody ever came to back them up. They tried to convince me that I should ask for forgiveness and that I needed to consider the community. They tried to grab onto any sort of power they had to overpower me and convince me to stop, but their attempt failed. B11 tried this too, but their attempt failed as well. They tried to say I was a nobody on this server. Yeah, mate, the nobody got the whole event shut down. They also brought up my relay server to make me even more of a public enemy. Is that even possible at this point? But it's irrelevant since it's far too late to do anything. When you're invested in a game like this, and someone comes along to insult how much you play the game and what you're doing to yourself, you tend to shut them out. They're just a hater, you might think. They could make everything you do to yourself clear as day, and you'll intentionally deflect and say they're wrong. I call it tunnel vision. They become so fixated on what they want to see that they stop themselves from even considering alternative viewpoints, even if they agree with them. Rose Stars did that, and they aren't even active. All of the players did this to varying extents. This is also another symptom of addiction. They want to stay in the headspace of the game so bad that they'll do everything they can to ignore obvious failings and dance around issues forever. If you feel this way, take a minute to really think about how you feel during a game session. Look deeply into yourself and really evaluate if this is acceptable. You're going to have to detach your evaluation from yourself entirely. Take your actions into perspective from an outsider. Even when you're off the game, be aware of how you think of yourself. Evaluate your priorities and consider if they truly are correct. Think about everything around you and consider if this is okay. I will wholeheartedly admit that I messed up the approach of the players for an interview. I messed it up to where I couldn't just sit down with one of them and chat about what I saw. I was far beyond that anyway. When you're addicted, an enemy is an enemy forever. There's no way I could change that. There were very few things I could have done to achieve my goal in a satisfying way, but nevertheless I got what I was looking for. Addiction comes in many ways. It varies from person to person, interest to interest. This issue is understudied and unknown by many, even those who are in it. If you can feel this inside you too, if you know someone like this, tell them what's wrong. Nobody can fix your addiction or obsession except for you. It's a long, difficult process you'll have to forge on your own, but a chunk of pain now is better than extended pain over a long amount of time. I hope you understand my purpose in all of this, as this isn't an easy topic to discuss. I'm basically trying to explain a state of mind that you only understand from the outside. I sincerely apologize to all the people I've harmed and hurt with the creation of this video and during the Kemono Stadium event, but I hope that everyone will understand my motivations. No one should throw their life away on games like this. The video was supposed to end here, on a terrible note that I couldn't help them and the warning about video game addiction. I thought I could just break it off there, that the players would keep having little squabbles with me that weren't video worthy. That didn't happen. So, back to the current events. I leaked some world downloads to my Twitter. I know I said I don't use Twitter, but this was literally my first tweet. The players hated this so unbelievably much that they accused the world downloads of having malware in them, and fraudulently reported the links to Mega. The person who reported the link was Geneva Mech. This guy actually committed perjury to get my world downloads taken down. I only knew it was him because he used his actual email address in one of the reports, and Mega sent that to me. I googled his email, found his Steam account, looked up Smidge204 in the Japari Park Discord server, which he's a moderator in, and found him saying that's another name of his. I cannot believe they let someone that immature be a moderator in there. Anyway, they got my Mega account taken down. No worries, let's just use Pixel Drain. Pop those suckers up on Pixel Drain, post it on +_, and it's down again. Yep, Geneva Mech and others are committing perjury to censor a Minecraft world. Just for a super quick overview, you absolutely cannot submit a copyright complaint without being an affected party of the copyright infringement. I submitted an appeal to Pixel Drain, and the files were put back up almost immediately. OmniSensei tried to warn Park staff about my world downloads in the Discord, but of course nothing happened. I did tell them that submitting copyright claims that they did not have the rights to was illegal, and that I would take down the downloads only if KFP submitted the claim, but so far nothing happened. One last thing, I'm considering making a follow-up video expanding on some of the things in this video. Kinda like a director's commentary. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helped.